Good evening, Gills fans, and welcome back to the latest episode of Gills in the Blood TV with myself, Boz and Stocky. Today's subject is going to be 9 new signings and Steve Evans' first month in charge. So we'll go all the way back to Steve Evans being appointed and work our way through in date order. So the first player we're going to talk about is this man coming up on your screen now. That man is, of course, Conor Ogilvie, now signed on a permanent deal 2 years after his release from Tottenham. And I'm going to come to you, Stocky. We went to the question and answer session, didn't we? And Steve Evans categorically said it was highly unlikely that Conor would feature at left back. So, what are you thinking in terms of first choice centre back pairing this season?
I think it's a hard one because I think Max and Conor done so well towards the back end of last season that you didn't even notice Gabs missing through injury. That's how well they performed. That was the biggest issue at the time. Everyone thought, myself included, that we'd probably struggle to stay up as a result of Gabs being injured. But to be fair to them two, they built up quite a partnership. 2 central defenders that were comfortable on the ball to feet, happy to play it out. And yeah, if you told me 18 months ago that we was going to sign Ogilvie on a permanent deal, I wouldn't have been happy whatsoever. But
as a centre back as well.
As a centre back, yeah, that's definitely his position, not left back for me. And I'm glad that's something that Mr. Evans kind of touched on at the Q&A section
quite quickly, didn't he? Yeah. In terms of you, Boz, as well. I mean, I think we all sort of agree the same sentiments, but I thought we looked a lot better as a footballing side with Conor in that back four instead of Gabby, because of the fact that, as Stocky's just alluded to, he's willing to go and get it off your keeper and get it off your other centre half and your full-back.
He's not just going to lump it, is he? Whereas that is exactly Gab's game, isn't it? We see with Conor, he will bring it forward, he will bring it out. And he's a totally different player to Gabs, but it's kind of a no risk signing, isn't it?
Yeah, we know him, he knows us, he knows the club, and I don't think he's going to be on ridiculous amounts of money. And it's probably similar to if we look at the younger players, because we was talking at Faversham, I think first half, before becoming fans you, Stocky, about Ryan Huckle and Jack Tucker. I think maybe that's the reason that Ryan Huckle's been let go and Jack Tucker's being persisted with, because I think Ryan Huckle's that sort of old school type, whereas now you need your centre backs to be able to play. And I think Jack Tucker probably can do that a bit better.
I said to you with them two as well in the first half, it's similar to when Callum Davies and Conor Eston both came through. It's going to be one or the other. Yeah,
you're very lucky if you get both to come through.
Because it's a big risk having both as maybe say your third and fourth choice, isn't it?
Yeah, you can risk one, and I think Jack will probably be the 5th choice now, because we've obviously got 4 senior centre backs, and we'll get to one of them a bit later in the episode. But I think I'm quite happy with our defensive 4 now.
Yeah. Potentially need a new left back.
Yeah, I'd say that's the only thing. I think you do need a left back. You need an out and out left back, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean,
as well as Fuller done last year, I still think you need a left back.
I know I've said it to you before as well, but I wouldn't be against sticking Garnson out as left winger more than a full back.
Or a wing back. Obviously, we're not sure, because Steve Evans played a flat 4-4-2 at the weekend.
Yeah,
so
if that's the case, like Garnson got forward quite a bit, didn't he? I wouldn't be against sticking the left mid.
I thought Riley done well.
Yeah, Riley surprised us, and I thought Mark Byrne did well the other side, but I don't think they're going to play there regularly. I think we'll bring more in. But that's signing number 1. Signing number 2 was announced live at the Q&A, and that is the replacement for Big Thomas Holy, who has departed for Ipswich, and that is this man. Jack Bonham seems to be highly rated in League One, played 46 times for Bristol Rovers last season and kept 18 clean sheets in all competitions. So if you're looking at bare statistics, I think it's a more than able replacement for Thomas, who's obviously gone to Portman Road and will battle there with a couple of keepers to be their number 1. What are your thoughts on Jack Bonham?
Their fans were quite gutted as well about him not sticking with them and joining us instead, so I think that kind of tells its own story.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll be honest, I don't know too much about him. As well as most of the signings, but on paper, looks a good acquisition to me.
Yeah, it's clearly has experience in this league. Yeah,
he ticks all the boxes, doesn't he?
What about you, Mr. Football Manager, man? Did you know much about him before?
Literally only through Football Manager, yeah.
So
you couldn't really make a judgment on Saturday either. He had 1 save to make, so
yeah, and he made that well. But he was virtually a spectator for 45 minutes, wasn't he?
I like the fact that he's not an ageing keeper, which we tend to have gone for in the past.
We had
he's
Harvey
young enough, he will
Lim.
do
Harvey
that.
Lim was an Asian keeper.
Did I say Asian?
No, I know what you mean,
I
yeah.
think it's like, looking ahead, potentially there's resale value there as well. Someone who could potentially make some money out of later on down the line.
Yeah, definitely. Was he 25?
Yeah, 24,
25, yeah. So, and he's a good size as well. I mean, he's not going to be as big as Thomas.
Obviously, Simon Royce coming in is a big plus for him.
Yeah, coached him at Brentford as well. So I think that's a seamless sort of introduction to life with us, which is great to see. And obviously, I think we're all pleased that Royce's come back as well.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Signing number 3 was Northern Ireland International. And that is this fella. Lee Hodson can play right back, I think can play left back at a push, and I think can play right side of midfield at a push. But he was employed as a right back first
Got a lot of
half.
crossing, isn't he?
He literally looks like Barry Fuller.
I think there was it
Someone
Luke
did
Potter
compare
on
him,
Twitter
yeah,
and
say
thought
that,
and
yeah.
said him and
Yeah.
said Fuller and Burner linking up well down the right, and was prompted to realise that it wasn't actually Barry Fuller.
It does look. He does.
Yeah, he
look like
build,
Barry Fuller.
looks, the way he plays the game, yeah. But 23 appearances for St Mirren last year in the SPL, on loan from Rangers, I think, wasn't he? Kept 4 clean sheets, and he's played over 50 games in League One in the last few years for Brentford and MK Dons. So again, not one I know loads and loads about, but in terms of numbers and figures, he looks like a more than able replacement for Luke O'Neill, who's obviously left and we now has gone to Wimbledon.
Yeah, I said to you Saturday, I think that's a better deal for them than it is for him.
Yeah, I think so. I thought he
he
might
could've
have gone a bit
higher.
higher than that, but obviously I suppose it's determined in terms of geography and
Hodgson, I remember, he
family.
was quite well rated at Watford, wasn't he, when he first came through?
As a kid, yeah, he was decent there
He was
apparently.
around there for a while, yeah.
I remember him briefly at MK Dons. I don't remember him playing for Brentford.
And there was
I
no
do.
shame, he was back up to Tavernier, wasn't it, at Rangers?
Yeah, you're going to
Probably the
struggle
best
to
defender,
get
best fullback in that league.
struggle
so
to
no
get
shame in
games
that.
behind him at in that level, because he's a very good player, that James Tavernier. And I think there's talk of him making a big money move, but he's their captain, isn't he? I think
Yeah.
so. It'd be interesting to see what happens. Know much about him?
No, he looks solid enough though.
Yeah, and he was decent. I thought, like Boz said, both fullbacks got loads of space as well, didn't they? And we have to be careful because it was as poor a Faversham team as I've seen us play. But yeah, I think it was good that he looked to get on the front foot. He wanted to be positive, and he didn't have any defensive work to do, did he? To be quite honest,
No, I
so
think
we'll
both
find out
fullbacks
more
are
in the
practicing
coming
as well,
weeks.
though.
Yeah. But yeah, looks to be a promising acquisition, and moving forward, hopefully we'll see him and he'll get bigger tests against better teams before the season starts. But the 4th man to come through the door was a man with Premier League experience, and that is Stuart O'Keefe. Central midfield or central defensive midfield, would we say? It's tricky to tell again because we played a 4-4-2 at the weekend and he started in a 2, didn't he, with another new signing who we'll get to. But I'd imagine he can probably play in a double pivot if we played a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3. He could play as that, he could play at the base. 13 appearances for Plymouth back end of last season. Their fans didn't seem to rate him too highly. I don't think Pompey fans did previously, but aside from that, I think he's got good pedigree earlier in his career. He's played for Palace in the Premier League, played for Cardiff in the Championship, and he's had spells at Southend and MK Dons as well. Played over 100 times in the Championship and the League One between 2008 and this year. So, what do we make of that one?
Probably for me, the most underwhelming signing. That's nothing really against him. Just think we already had a lot of midfielders. Maybe just where we were stood on Saturday, but I didn't particularly notice him. You said he was decent.
I thought he was quite comfortable with the
him
ball.
and Cisse were
I
very
thought
good together,
He was comfortable playing the ball out, trying to switch the ball from one side of the pitch to another, which was hard due to the pitch didn't look great.
It's horrible.
Didn't
dry.
look
long,
flat.
Yeah.
But no, I was again, it's hard because of the opposition, but I thought he'd done well, acquitted himself well.
I was impressed with both central midfielders first half, yeah.
I get what you mean about underwhelming, because I think he's probably more of a defensive type of midfielder rather than an offensive one.
Is it a good thing that you didn't notice him?
Well, I said that to, I don't know who I said it to. It might have been James from the Jules Fancast. So maybe it's a good thing, because usually defensive midfielders, if you notice them, it's because they've made a mistake.
Or because we're on the back foot too much,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm not sure that's a bad thing that we didn't notice him. I mean, you can't help but notice his partner on Saturday.
No,
We'll
everyone
get
was
to in a
more
little while,
impressed
but
with him,
he's massive. But signing number 5 was another midfielder, but a slightly more forward-thinking one, coming in after being released from a certain Manchester United. I'm going to start with this one. This is the one that excites me the most, I think, out of all of them, purely because of the fact that we know he comes with good pedigree, a good grounding, a good football education. I know Nicky Butt spoke highly of him. He's got 2 brothers that play at a decent standard as well, and we're talking about Matty Willock. I know, is it Joe that's at Arsenal. And is very highly
Chris
thought
is
of.
at Benfica,
Chris Willock, is it Chris?
I think it's Chris.
Who's at Benfica? He's definitely at Benfica, yeah. So come from a good footballing family. Was very impressed with him Saturday. He's an athlete, and he's a real athlete.
Yeah,
I thought he's a
he
fair
was
size.
there.
He got cleaned out at the end, didn't he? By one challenge right near full time. But he got up and just carried on. Didn't seem to want to roll around and this and that.
Seemed keen to shoot as well. I like that.
Scored a good goal. Was unlucky with another one, wasn't he? I thought the second one was in as well. It just went wide of the post. It must have been the angle we were sat at. But
different, because I know last season a lot of people said our centre midfielders are already similar. But yeah, he's got a good engine, he's a good size, he's looking to get forward, and yeah, he's willing to have a shot, take a gamble. That's a lot different to what we've had the last couple of seasons.
I think out of the 3 that have come in, he's going to be the most forward-thinking one. Would that be fair to say from what we see at the weekend?
Brief period of time we've seen of all of them, I'd say that's probably a fair assessment.
Yeah, and he looks to
came deep a couple of times to get it as well, was carry it.
Yeah, very comfortable in possession, which is a good sign. And obviously we can't keep reiterating enough that we have to remember it was against Faversham. So we'll learn more about him next week at Folkestone. But certainly more when we play the likes of Charlton and Southend and Millwall. But yeah, all in all, played 25 times last season. Again, another one with SPL background, which makes sense considering our manager is Scottish. And also played for Crawley, and I think Crawley fans thought he'd done all right down there. He only played 11 games, but I think he picked up a couple of niggly injuries which sort of held him back a little bit. But he's only a kid, and I think he'll only get better. I think he's similar to Regan, Charles Cook and Brandon Hannon last summer, but with
it's a gamble
better pedigree, I think. Yeah, and that's no disrespect to Regan or Brandon, who done very well last season. I think they'll be good players for us this year, but he certainly comes with
there was talk he could have gone the Rangers, wasn't there?
resume.
But similar to John Egan, when we brought him in, he wants to come and play games rather than sitting on the bench.
Yeah, that's always a good sign, I think, with youngsters. We've said it about the ones that have left us and gone to play elsewhere, the likes of Ben Chapman and Aaron Simpson or whatever, and want to go. And Ryan Huckle, who I think tweeted after the game Saturday, they want to go and play football. And I think if he could have probably sat at United for another year or gone to somewhere else, gone Rangers or someone, and not played a lot of games, but I'll play for Rangers. But no, he wants to get out in the park, and I think that's a great sign in terms of temperament and attitude. Yeah, very excited to see him against stronger opposition, of course. But that was number 5 through the door. Number 6, absolute giant, got promoted last season. That is this fella. How do we say his first name? Is it Usainu? Usainu Cisse. Us. Mali international. Hasn't played for a while, I don't think, in fairness, but he has got 5 full Mali caps, which
not
is...
the first Mali international to play for us either.
Ooh.
Mama Sadivi.
Of course, yeah.
Mama.
Yeah, big
Played
mama.
with Freddie Canute, yeah.
He did. 32 games last season for MK Dons in League 2. Scored twice. I don't think that's his game, to be honest. Scoring goals. Another one, I think, like O'Keefe, who's going to play as an orthodox centre midfielder or as a more of a protector and a shield. And for me, I was very impressed with him on Saturday. And again,
for me, I think first half he was the standout.
He's big, he's rangy, he gets about the park quick without looking like he's fast because he's got such a long stride on him. He was a threat in set pieces, he kept talking. I thought he just got it and gave it and let other people do the bits like the creative stuff. But yeah, I thought he kept us ticking over in the middle of the park, and I think he's going to be a good player for us next season. Has experience in Europe as well. He's played in the 2nd division in France, Ligue 2, and he's played in the Jupiler Pro League in Belgium, I think, for a couple of clubs.
League 2 is 2. League 2.
Not 3.5. Listen to the pod if you don't know what we're talking about. Sorry, Lawrence, we swear on it. Yeah, again, we only saw him for 45 minutes. I think he's going to be fun to watch this season.
I think he'll be vital for us next season. Steve Evans has made it clear he wasn't happy with the centre of the park. Felt that we was weak there. I mean, I don't know.
It's too easy.
Yeah, I don't know too much about Cisse, but just looking at him, he looks like an absolute unit.
Yeah, I think he's going to be someone that
protect that back four well.
He won't be afraid to put his foot in if there's 50-50s.
I think it's a case of him or O'Keefe or Burn, potentially.
It depends what tactics they play.
Really, I think so. If we play 4-4-2, then obviously, we've obviously got too many central midfielders if it is only going to be 4-4-2, and you'd imagine that some are going to lead them, wouldn't we?
It's like 4-4-2 was the first half. Second half, it looked more one up front and then like one in behind and then two wingers.
So was it 4-4-1-1?
Yeah, I think Regan played number 10, didn't he?
So it could almost be a 4-2-3-1 as well.
That's what it looked like to me. It looked like 4-2-3-1.
So who did we have then? So that was Oldacre and Willock sat, and then Charles Cook in front.
Charles Cook looked as if he was playing behind Campbell, and then List wide left.
And Nathan Thomas the other side. Right. So then you could probably get two of them in plus Willock, or two plus a Regan, depending on who's in favour and who's fit, of course.
The more pre-season goes, at the moment, I think it might be like a 4-4-1-1 potentially.
I'm hoping we'll have a couple of systems that we can play, obviously.
Well, I think that's the point of pre-season, because against Faversham you can probably get away with them two. That probably would sit more against, like, say, Charlton or Millwall. Against Faversham, obviously, the golfing class, they're going to be inclined to push on more because you can get away with it.
We had probably 65% of the ball, didn't we?
But then when we play them other teams, then that's when you might see the different kind of game formations and
so you might almost have two shields sat in front of a back four and then just one right up top with three in behind, which could work. I think Willett could probably play as an orthodox centre mid in part of a three, or he could play as a number 10 or as part of a two. He seems to be big enough to play as part of a two, and he can get about the pitch quick enough, so be interesting to see. Next one through the door, who was at the double at the weekend, is this young man. Can't say I know anything about him at all. Mikhail and Jolly. Dave? We can't say Mikhail or and Jolly.
And Jolly's a bit of a tongue twister at times.
And Jolly.
And Jolly.
Did you see Jill's headline? Jolly good show, isn't it?
Something like that, a Dave good show.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And Jolly.
He scored. I'm going to come to you. I'm just going to leave you alone. He scored two really good goals, I thought, the weekend.
He did, yeah. I thought he done well. I'd be interested to see him against higher opposition, though. I felt sometimes he did hold on to the ball a bit too long and try doing a bit too much. Whether that's because it's his first appearance in club colours, I don't know. First pre-season game.
Grass was 3 foot long as well.
Yeah, it did get caught under his foot a few times.
It did really early on. I was thinking, he looks a bit clumsy here.
Yeah.
And I thought, but his goal was really good.
Well taken finishes.
Well, the second one, a header from a corner, wasn't it? Flicking it off the far post. And he set up Callum Riley as well. So he showed a bit of awareness there to get his head up, because kid of 20 on hat-trick, he could have thought, right, I'm going to try and do this on my own, but he got his head up and played Callum in, and that was a really smart finish as well, in fairness. But he was certainly quick enough, wasn't he? And we've said plenty of times that pace at this level is going to cause people a problem.
Very forward thinking again.
If you can get defenders on the half turn, it's going to make them uncomfortable. But I think he's very raw. He's going to need a lot of coaching and a lot of encouragement. And I think if he does have a bad game, we need to bear with him. But yeah, he could almost be like an Elliot List type he's a bit of a weapon. That's a bit harsh. From a couple of years ago, when we first signed Listy, well, even last season, Elliot List was more of a threat from the bench, I think, than he was when he started games. But yeah, can play wide, can play as it in the front two like he did at the weekend. So it's another one that I think we could say promise is probably the word, potential.
I think potential rough diamonds, need to be a bit patient with him. Don't expect him just because he's coming.
Let's not get on his back if he has a bad game.
Scoring 15, 20 goals, let's just see how he gets on.
Similar to Liam Ash a couple of seasons ago, just because he's come from Bournemouth and he scored two against Faversham, it doesn't mean he's going to win us the league title.
I mean, we saw German score a hat-trick a few years ago.
There's been plenty. It's all about minutes in legs, as we shall say.
Minutes in the back.
But yeah, 5 goals in 31 appearances for Kilmarnock last season. Again, SPL, and I think he only started 7, I think I read, of them 31 games. But he did get 4 in his first 5 appearances. So he did only get 1 in his last 26, but we'll sweep that under the carpet. But yeah, I think in terms of, like you said, rough diamond, loads of potential. I think he's one that's going to be exciting and fun to watch.
Probably similar to how we looked at Charles Cook at the start of last season.
And probably Brandon.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how he kicks on. One with slightly more experience in the Football League came through as signing number 8, and again he was at the double at the weekend. One was a glorious free kick, and that is this man. Wide man signed on loan from Sheffield United. Premier League, Sheffield United, if you want to look at the positive spin on it. Some people go, well, he only played for Notts County and Carlisle last season, but that is Nathan Thomas. Can play either side, I think, so he'll be a good addition if we do play a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-3-1. I think he'd be comfortable in either of them roles. His free kick was decent, wasn't it?
We all thought Oldacre was going to hit it, didn't we?
Yeah, and I think there was a few that were concerned who was going to take him this season without Luke O'Neill, but problem solved. That was a belter. At whatever level, that don't matter. That keeper was getting absolutely nowhere near that. And that, in fairness to that young lad that played second half for Faversham, he probably made a good few saves more than the first half keeper, didn't he?
One straight at his head, didn't he?
Oh yeah, clumped him on the forehead, yeah. But say you keep it out, I think so one was backside as well, didn't he?
Yeah, Scarlett kicked it.
Yeah, hit him on the arse and rolled out for a corner. But yeah, Nathan Thomas played 41 times in League 2 last season for Notts County and Carlisle, so was in a poor Notts County side at the start of the season, but Carlisle done alright. I think they finished top half, didn't they?
Yeah,
they were pushing for the playoffs for a little while as well. 5 goals, 3 assists last season, but he's played 144 times in the Football League, and he's been involved in 38 goals. That's 23 of his own and 15 assists. So I think
promising.
1 in 3.5 he's involved in, so I don't think that's a bad record at this level.
What was decent, United's second half, was him and Liss were playing on opposite wings, weren't they?
We was playing inverted wingers, weren't we? Yeah, so the left foot was the right side. It was interesting as well that Steve Evans in today's Midway Messengers come out and said that Nathan Thomas is the furthest behind in terms of fitness, because he wasn't assigned a squad number, I don't think, with Sheffield United, so he's missed out on the first part of pre-season. But he said he's working hard and he'll quickly have him up to speed. And they go away today, is it, or tomorrow?
I think tomorrow.
Somewhere in the UK for some sort of
few days.
Spa. I don't think it's going to be a relaxing spa week. I think there's treble sessions. I've
Judging
heard
the
7
things
o'clock
I've read
starts.
and heard about Steve Evans training camps before, they're like army regimented.
Yeah, I mean, if everyone buys into it, then I can't see it doing anyone any harm. We went to, was it Ireland a couple of seasons ago and did that type of thing, didn't we?
Yeah.
So we shall see. But yeah, I think again, don't know loads about him. I don't think he's going to play games for Sheffield United in the near future at all, is he? So it might be one.
I think he's 23 now, so now's the time he needs to be playing regular, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's probably some way beyond Premier League standard. No disrespect to him. But yeah, I think he'd be a good addition for us, and another one I'm looking forward to seeing. We're definitely going to play with width this year, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely.
So
totally different from this time last year, wasn't it? When we weren't going to play with wingers, and
we knew what we were going to. Yeah,
we
did, didn't we? We weren't going to play with wingers, and we kept putting defenders in wingers.
Did we have Luke O'Neill as a winger at one point?
Yeah.
I think for too long now we've relied on our fullbacks to provide width, haven't we? And if that doesn't work, then it becomes easy to play against us. And I think Elliot List's going to be used as a winger this season as well. He started the other side, didn't he?
I thought he was brilliant.
Hit the post, the bar, did everything but score, didn't he? Yeah, I mean, he had that poor right back on toast. Yeah. But again, we've got to wait until he does it against a Charlton fullback or a Millwall fullback.
Whatever level, fullback. That pace, the way that he was running at that right back,
absolutely blistering. And
he had him on toast.
As a defender, I know, you don't want to be running towards your own goal when you've got someone like that trying to tear past you.
I just don't want to be running.
I can't. He don't.
I choose not to.
Did he break his ankle?
Apparently, if it was on the podcast, so yeah, I'm not sure.
So.
But final signing, number 9. You all right pronouncing this name? Do you want to do this?
No, I reckon I put this in the day.
Alfie Jones, just so Boz can. Davy Jones.
Davy Jones.
Then you. What's happened here? Alfie Jones, centre back from Southampton.
You not want to pause like you do normally?
You need his picture up, don't you?
Is this man coming up on your screen now? Under 23 captain, highly rated by all accounts. I think if you looked at the reports from Southampton when it was confirmed that he was signing, he's played 62 games in Premier League 2 and has scored 9 goals. So he's obviously a threat from set pieces, so much so that we thought he'd scored the first goal at the weekend. Yeah. But it wasn't, it was Conor Ogilvie who was just behind him. Played 14 times, you've guessed it, in the Scottish Premier League last season for St Mirren. What was he, 21 years old? I like the look of him Saturday. Again, it's only 3 quarters now, but he looks a good size, comfortable on the ball.
Yeah, very assured at that level. Going by Twitter, I think a few Southampton fans were gutted that they didn't keep him
Yeah, there was a few thought he might be
wanted
around
him in the squad, yeah, because
Yeah.
they've been shorn of all their good centre backs over the last few years, haven't they? I don't know who they play now. Is it? They've still got Yoshida.
Isn't it? No, I think Yoshida went.
Vestergaard.
And Jack Stevens, isn't it?
No disrespect, but a couple of years ago they had Van Dijk, Alderweireld. It's
Lovren.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was good there. But yeah, I mean, it's great if Southampton fans were thinking he was good enough to step up and be involved in the 18 or try and get in the 18 in the Premier League, then that only bodes well for us. And
makes it interesting to have 3 decent centre backs. I mean, we've only seen Jones for a little bit, but he seems as if he's a ball playing defender as well. So to have 3 of them in the squad.
Yeah, I think with him coming in now, I think Gav probably drops to 4th choice.
I was going to say that indicates maybe the way that Steve Evans wants our centre backs to play, which probably makes it tricky for Gabby Zacconi to play a lot. And the fact that he's still struggling with this ankle problem, which has been 5 months? When was it? February when he done it?
We said in the car the other day, didn't we? Didn't Kiefer Moore? He's already back, isn't he?
Kiefer Moore came back end of the season,
yeah.
even though he'd been ruled out initially for the rest of the season. But he come back and played, yeah. And we thought he looked worse than Gabby at the time because it looked like he'd broken his neck, the way he landed. But yeah, he's back and playing, and Gabby's still. I think went for a scan again last week. I watched his Instagram
story. He was rehabbing
story.
yesterday. You see his Instagram yesterday?
No.
He was. He had like a bouncy ball and he was trying to step on it.
Oh, so he's doing work, but he's just away from
yeah.
stuff that he's a little way away from trying to get on the pitch again at the moment, which is
and you
frustrating.
think even when he does get back, he's then got to get back up to fitness.
Yeah, similarly to who was it last season?
Probably later.
Josh Reese. Josh Reese missed pre-season last season with an ankle problem, didn't he? And then he didn't really get a look in until winter, and then he was struggling playing catch up with all the other midfielders. Then he had that purple patch, and then he dropped out again. While we're on them two, because that's all the new signings, and then we get on to the big gaffer himself, Josh Reese, Dean Parrott, Bradley Stevenson. No word on an injury, but all 3 are not included at the weekend. What do we think?
Surprised about Stevenson.
But there's this weird thing about his contract because it's not officially been announced that he signed it. Didn't he announce that he signed a new contract? But there's been nothing from the club.
I thought they announced it.
Or did they just sort of tweet a reply when he was at that youth team presentation evening? But
he has
we've
been
not seen
involved.
him.
He's been in the.
He was in the training pictures, but then why wouldn't he be involved on Saturday? It's a weird one for me.
I think Parrott and Reese, I just don't think Evans favours them. He's made it clear he's not happy with the centre of the park.
So that's what I'm thinking. Are they maybe the 3? Because didn't he say 3? He said
We were assuming it was going to be Riley, didn't we? And yet Riley started and played really well.
Well, it could have been Riley, but they've been back a week or 2
10
now.
days,
Maybe he's changed,
It could still be Riley, because we're not going to play Callum Riley and Mark Byrne as wingers, let's be honest. So it could still be them. It could be the fact that we've had to put square pegs in round holes because we wanted to play 4-4-2 at the weekend. So we're not for 1 minute saying that those that played in them positions are guaranteed to play in the league games now.
No,
but
I reckon they could play. I reckon Riley probably could play on the left.
Yeah, if we weren't playing a front 3, if we were playing a 4, then I think Riley could play on the left.
Yeah.
If we were playing a 3, probably not.
No, I agree.
No, I don't think so, because you're not going to get enough defensive.
And
I think he's too good defensively.
Burner at a push to play on the right, but it's not his position.
No,
and
I
personally think he's still good enough in the middle. I think the back end of last season showed that he was one of the shining lights in the middle of the park for me. Covers a lot of grounds, work rate is terrific.
Goal output got better when we played him from the side of the diamond as well. He's not a holding midfielder, as in he sits at the base of the diamond, and I think we need to get away from this where we keep pigeonholing people in there, because if we're going to play 4-4-2 or we're going to play 4-2-3-1, why can't we just play central midfielders? And I think Burner could be one of them that provides the legs if you played him with a Cisse, for example, who just sat. Or could we look at doing it the other way and go maybe play a 4-1-4-1?
Yeah, he's shown he can get goals playing in the middle of the park, can't he?
Scored some good goals for us as well, yeah. I mean, obviously that one against Bristol Rovers a couple of winters ago, I think he scored a good goal at Shrewsbury the season they got in the playoffs. Bent one in the far corner, we drew 1-1 up there, didn't we, under Steve Lovell? I wouldn't want to see him go, to be honest. I think he's a very good footballer.
I think he's one of our centre mids from last season that's probably safest.
So how many do you think we need?
Evans did say at the Q&A, he mentioned him.
He was one that he said was impressed him. Obviously, Cisse and O'Keefe are going to be involved. So then you'd say...
You think it then be...
You've probably got Byrne, Riley...
Oldacre.
So that's your 5. And then your attacking midfielders, Willock, Charles Cook. Yeah, maybe
Stevenson, yeah.
I think Stevenson might be on his way out, or at least send him out on loan to get games at
See, he's
a
one
higher
I
level than
genuinely
he
thought
did.
he could break in this season, but we have brought in a lot of players in those positions.
I think it
now.
depends what our aspirations are as well, doesn't it? I think if we're sat here and saying we're happy to stay up again, then maybe Bradley Stevenson is good enough, but Steve Evans wants us to get in the top 6, so is Bradley Stevenson good enough to be that player that gets us in the top 6?
So of the 3 opinions, Dean Parrott,
I think it's done.
yeah.
I've heard whispers that clubs have
I've
approached him,
seen things online that Steve Nidge are just waiting to agree with.
and he's been there before, so it would make sense if he's been told he's not going to play for us. Josh Reese, I think, just because of the fact that he come from non-league, I don't think is going to get. We've not signed a non-league player this summer, have we?
No.
So we're obviously going away from that approach, which
Which is a little bit harsh on him because he did have that
it
good
is,
spell.
but it doesn't bode well for
I
him.
just don't
does it?
think you've seen enough of him, really. He's one of them where he probably hasn't played enough to form a balanced opinion on.
No, he probably had
In my
a good
opinion.
2
Played in
months.
different positions as well, isn't he? Like I think it was at Swansea, started number 10, and then moved back and then went back up there.
That was that weird game, didn't we? Have 2 number 10s and Mark Burton, and we got overran the first half, and we looked awful, didn't we? We had him, Charles Cook, and Burton was our central midfield, and it didn't work.
No, it'd be a shame if Reece does go, but it kind of makes sense when you put in
Again,
pieces
it's the
together.
same as the Bradley Stevenson one, isn't it? If we're happy to be 14th, 15th, 16th, Josh Reece is probably all right. If you want to be in the top 8, top 6, challenging for promotion, is Josh Reece good enough at the moment? And he's
I think I said
25.
so.
It's not like he's a kid.
I think I said to you the other day, I wouldn't be surprised if he dropped to somewhere like Leighton Orient.
I think he might go back to non-league, even if he went back to somewhere like Bromley
Do you think?
and played games. So, I'm not being funny, they're attracting people like Billy Bingham, who's come out of our division, so it might be something that he goes back there and starts again. But Steve Evans himself, what do we make of the first, what's it been now, 5 weeks? June the 1st, what are we now, July the 8th, so
I think he's said all the right things.
done all the right things.
Done all the right things. It sounds promising. After the Q&A, we done a video, didn't we? And I said, it's time. We're judging on the matches now. Obviously, we've had a game at the weekend, but I don't think you can really count it, in all honesty.
No.
But he's saying and doing all the right things, you know, signing
Open
the right
training
referee.
session in a couple of
Yeah,
weeks
I think
as well.
that's a good sign as well. I think
start,
he's trying to get the fans on board. And I'd say that probably the people that didn't want him in, he's changed quite a few opinions round. Obviously, some still don't want him, and that's fair enough. They're
Yeah, of
entitled to
course,
their
we know
opinion.
that everyone's going to have different thoughts.
But
on
I
it.
think he's changed quite a few people's opinions around, and he's got people interested and excited again as well.
Yeah, I think there is a buzz around the football club, and I mean, it might fall on its arse and flat on its face, but at the moment, I don't think he's done anything wrong. He's, like we said, he's saying all the right things. We
It's
knew
making
it
it
was.
very
You
difficult
said
for
in
me
the
to
car, didn't
not
you?
want him.
You said in the car Saturday when we was driving up that he's not going to not say the right things, and he knows that he's got to get
And I
people
said
on
as well,
side
there's
because
been
of
a
his
lot of things on
past.
Twitter, isn't it? Like when that open training session announced and someone said, Lovell would never have done that. And I said to you, but Evans has got...
Lovell didn't have to do that.
And Evans, has got a lot more work to do in winning the fans over than Lovell did.
Yeah, of course.
So he needs to come out, be saying the positive things, try and get the fans involved. He needs to get them on solid. Lovell didn't need to do that. He had the majority from the start.
Exactly. I think that sums it up pretty well. I know I asked you after the Q&A and it was too early, and I'm going to ask you again, and I'm going to ask you what would you say represented a decent season for Gillingham?
For me, I think if we're challenging in and around top 6, I would say 9th. I would think anything worse than top 10, and we'd probably say, was it a mistake bringing him in because we wouldn't have improved much.
I think that's a bit harsh. Personally, I still think it's too early to say. We need to give him time. I still think anywhere around mid-table, considering the past few years, could be deemed successful. However, I think it's one of them where it's make or break. It's either got to be this season. I don't think it's a long-term thing for Evans or for Mr. Scally.
That's the thing, he doesn't come across as a long-term manager, does he? He tends to stay in the job 18 months, 2 years, 2.5 years, and then
So
he
I think
moves
it's
on.
got to be this year or nothing really.
I'm going to say what I said to you after the Q&A. I think if anywhere between sort of 8th and 12th, I'll be happy. I just don't want to be approaching the final 6 games having to look over our shoulder. I know I got it wrong on one video I did you and said if we can get to 45 points by Christmas, I'd worked it out wrong. I just think if we can finish, if we can get in the top half or the top 10, that'd be a really good season. Anything after that'd be a bonus.
Yeah, similar to what Boz said. If we can be there or thereabouts, I think that would be a good season. I think.
It'd just be nice to be looking that way rather than.
I think if we're in a
That
similar
way all
position
the
to
time,
this
wouldn't it?
time, if we're sitting 12th, 13th, people are going to say, was it really worth all that money?
Yeah, I can understand what you're saying, but he keeps coming out and saying it's not a different budget. He's saying he's working well within his
Sorry,
means.
I don't agree with that.
But just going back to the signings, we're speaking about signing Josh Reese from non-league, and we've just signed someone that's been released by Man United.
Yeah, so
you're telling me
obviously-
that the budget's the same.
Yeah,
Of course, you've got to be. No, of course, yeah. And I think everybody forms their own opinion. So, but he said he's working within the budget. So, and he didn't he say after the game
come in.
Saturday, he said he's still looking at 4 more, which we think is going to be 2 strikers, a wide man, and another defender. Whether that's a centre back or a full back, I'm not sure. I'd imagine it should be a left full back because we don't need 5 senior centre backs.
Plus Jack Tucker.
And Jack Tucker, yeah. So, anyway, I think we've summed it all up. We can't make Folkestone, can we, this week, unfortunately? I'm at a work do, and you're busy,
I
and
don't know what I'm doing yet. To be
you
fair.
don't drive,
And I'm working.
and you're probably eating shreddies.
Working at what time?
No, you might.
Damn you, these 10 o'clock kickoffs in the evening.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Travis
as always,
from Folkestone.
thanks for watching. Please keep doing all you do, retweeting, liking, sharing, commenting down below on YouTube, getting involved on the Facebook page, commenting on Twitter, and go and follow us on Instagram. And until next time, up the Gills.